Huge news, as the police are now reportedly investigating one of AH's biggest pals and her protector, the one that wrote the Sun article and caused the UK trial back in 2019. I'm going to ask that you share this everywhere too. Why? Because the same media that joined Dan Wootton in supporting AH and trying to take JD's life apart, yeah, they won't report on this at all. I mean, we're talking about a trending topic. It's going around the world. It has millions and millions of hits on it. More accusations are coming up, plus a reported police investigation, and they won't cover it at all. You and I, though, we're going to talk about that today, and this is crazy times, huh? This is crazy times indeed. All right, so hey there to all you fine folks on this fine day, by the way. I hope you are doing excellently. So this is a crazy story that just keeps getting crazier, with many sources, not just one here, but many sources talking about a police investigation into Dan Wootton. Again, this is the guy that wrote the UK Sun article that caused the UK trial for JD in 2019. He threw in, he says he listens and believes. He believes in a certain hashtag. All the while, there were allegations from that timeline, and there were reports of a police investigation going back a year and a half. Now, as far as the newer allegations against Dan Wootton, this one here is posted by someone that said, yes, I did go to the police. I went to the police in 2021 talking about what happened to me in 2014 when Dan, he decided that he would use the background information about this person to bully and exploit them and do terrible things. Quote, Sunday, the 9th of November, 2014 is a date that changed my life forever. This was a date I attended the MTV Music Awards in Glasgow. It was an evening that should have been forever lasting great memories of a really enjoyable night, but that was not to be. That was the night I met Dan Wootton. That was the night he first met the person he already knew, myself. At that point in my life, I was working as an escort, something I genuinely had to do at that moment in time to survive, and the agony of that and having to disclose this is incredibly painful because I know exactly how that is viewed by certain judgmental people out there. This can easily be seen as a quick way to try and instantly discredit someone. So this dangerous man, it continues, we're going to say, use certain substances, that's how we're going to know that, and he aggressively, I'm going to say, armed me in the most degrading way, calling me a worthless, nameless piece of I want to make it clear that Dan came to my hotel room and used his knowledge to gain entry to my room. Dan knew a lot about me on this chance encounter. We had never met before that night, although he had very briefly seen me in the lift going up to my room hours before. He had done his homework on all well-established escorts at this time, which was very clear to me in the conversation that took place. This was not a booking. There was no exchange of money. I made it clear to Dan that I was on a personal night out and I was not here to do that. He knew things about my past. Some of the information was in the public domain, some of the details were not, and some of what was said by him was so specific and related to one thing that it showed me that this man had researched me deeply. Now, they talk about what was exploited here too, how exactly, Dan made his way in, and that was because this person had been convicted of extortion back in 2010. Some of the details they say are in news articles. They had discussed this online, and they say, all of that happened when I started at 15. I continued until I was 19, and the person that pulled me into this is the very one that started up the escorting and everything. Now, the reason they say that they mention all of this is because it's entirely relevant to what Dan and I were talking about that night, and most importantly, I was threatened by an unknown individual the next day, by someone clearly working on behalf of Dan, who called me to make it clear to me that I better never speak out on what happened to me. There is no doubt in my mind that Dan viewed me as fair game target that night, saw me as prey because of all that's mentioned, and accosted young adult with a deeply troubled life through the care system, who went to criminal record, ended up in prison, and by that point in the escort industry, a perfect candidate for a specific type of predator. You know exactly what type of predator we're talking about, by the way. I was just seen as someone easily dismissible. No one would believe me, and most importantly, he made sure I got that message through the threatening call. I reported all of this to the police back in 2021. Again, this is not the only person to say that they filed police reports. There have been many. There also are reports that the son of the previous employers, they had reports as well. And still absolutely nothing has ever been done about it. I have been silenced before, discredited, disregarded, never given any real opportunity to set the record straight about any of the numerous things that have happened to me. So you eventually just start to give up, and that's the place I now reside. Since I've reopened the Pandora's box, I've hit the deepest, hardest depression I've ever felt in my entire life. I wrestled so much about going public and putting this out there about what Dan did to me, but I cannot stay silent anymore. Waiting for someone or something to happen that would contribute to justice being served is a hopeless mindset. I have made many mistakes in my life and have been met with the consequences of those mistakes. It is about time that the people who actually did me wrong were held responsible as well, or at the very least, that information is widely known. The overall message I want people to take away when reading this is I won't be held hostage by what Dan Wootton did to me or my past that he blatantly used against me to keep this buried. I just want the truth out there once and for all. This is not some kind of tell-all. My life is deeply complex, and the details covered here are important for people to know so they can understand some sort of context and how this complete spiderweb around me has had me debilitated for so long. Finally, I am telling it exactly like it is. This is a first-hand account. It is my words, and I simply refuse to make this, I'm going to say, ARPA's secrets, my secrets. I am sick and tired of disgusting individuals getting away with doing the most evil acts, and they are celebrated. This man is an ARPist, they say, and my memory is his crime scene. I was there. It happened to me. I know full well the impact this has had. I pray that everyone who has been hurt by this vicious, vile man eventually finds some kind of healing. Writing this was beyond pain. Now, when Dan Wootton decided to burn JD's life down, standing with AH, he made it clear he believes in accusation culture. Substantiation is the accusation. You are guilty when people accuse you. So this is guilt here by his own rules. He should have to stand with that. And, well, I guess he needs to resign, right? But let me know what you think. And as always, appreciate the heck out of you. You make this stuff work. Thank you, too. Links are in the description. Check those out. They help out the channel. And thank you. Gonna end here.